Hello, I'm Beverley Long and I'm a family solicitor and mediator. What I wanted to talk to you about today is how we can really support children through the mediation process. As parents, we can often be caught up in our own emotions, which can often be running very high when we're going through separation, particularly when we're living in the same house. So here's sort of just a few pointers that you might want to sort of take on board when you're deciding to separate or divorce. Before you come to that decision, if you can, and I appreciate this is not always going to be possible to do, but try and agree with each other as parents what you are going to explain to the children. Be clear in sort of your mind, if you can, what it is, the message you want to get across. And however difficult that may be, don't really underestimate what the children may or may not already know. Because when emotions are running high in a family home where there is inevitably going to be a breakup, then children are often going to sort of be tuning into those emotions of their parents as well as to themselves. So I would say that generally they will know possibly what's going on, so don't underestimate that. Another thing is to try and agree together that you're not going to argue in front of the children. Research has shown, and it really has proven, that conflict in families, and even more so when you're going through divorce, that is a possibility. It's really important to see it through the child's eyes, and that it can be really fearful and quite traumatic for them if they're hearing the two people they love most in the world actually arguing. So try and sort of have a pact that you're not going to argue in front of the children. And any important decisions, I would say, try and make them between yourself. Don't involve the children in making those decisions. Absolutely, their views are important. And as a mediator who is trained to involve young people and children in mediation, to share their views and ascertain sort of their wishes, often I'll hear children say to me, well, parents are making decisions about me, but they haven't asked me what impact they will have. And so often I will say to parents, we can do this in age appropriate ways, and particularly teenagers or a group of young people who really do want to voice their opinion and make it known what arrangements they would like for them and what's going to work for them. And children are often people pleasers, and they'll be throwing out all sorts of emotions. So it's important that you try to listen, to hear what they're saying, but not putting the responsibility on them to make their decisions. So that may be sort of before the divorce. And then when you're going through the divorce, again, try and make sure that any conversations around really sort of situations which are going to really change, a change of home, maybe even a change of school. And children can often feel very neglected in understanding what is going on. So maybe sort of explain that as you go along. Don't be afraid to let them know what's going on. It's difficult, and it's, when you're not certain, and some parents will say, well, do I wait? But I think this can be led by the children, but the reassurance should be about it's not their fault. Mum and dad still really love you, and also that they're going to still be able to have that contact with important people in their lives, whether it's grandparent, extended family, their friendship groups, all those things that are there to provide security and stability, they're going to want to know are still going to be there. So try and obviously have those discussions. And one thing you don't want is for children to have to choose sides. So try not have those conversations where you're criticising one another, putting blame on one another, because that's quite confusing, particularly for very young children. And always remember, when you have those sort of moments where you're thinking, gosh, this is really tricky for me, and my emotions are running high, and you're angry at the other person, other people around you that may in themselves be taking sides. Try and see it from your children's point of view and what's best for them. I don't think I've ever had a parent say to me, I'm not acting in my child's best interest. I think most parents think they are, but I think sometimes you have to stand back and try and see it from sort of their perspective and also each other's perspective. And going through a divorce, it's often, rather than being sort of positioned and not prepared to move, try and see if you can sometimes see it from each other's point of view. So when you're getting parents sort of saying, this is how I want things to be for the children, they're going to spend this amount of time with each other, try and actually see, how is that really going to work? How is that for the children? And how can we make sure that they're not having to feel conflicted, that they're having to take sides. So this is not easy, absolutely, but in our experience, keeping those conversations, however difficult they are, try not to avoid them, because brushing them aside often means that people feel rejected. So particularly children, try and keep that listening ear, make sure they know they're loved, that you are going to take on board the impact of them. Then, if you're a couple who are going through divorce or there's a final separation of parents, consider, I don't know if you've heard this, but a parenting plan. It really is quite a good tool to use, and there's various websites, and check out the links and that on our website, bblfamilylaw.com, and we've got links to various websites and parenting apps, because the key thing I think after a divorce and after a separation is keeping this communication going, keeping that awareness of making sure that things that you know in your mind that the other parent may not be aware of, the school activities, the friendship groups, the issues that the children are going through that they might only just tell you because that's sort of happened that day, but the other parent may need to know about those. And obviously make sure you trust your children as well, in terms of trusting them to share information, but they need to feel secure in being able to do that. Again, this from a mediator's perspective, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counsellor, and we have some great sort of associates that we work with, therapists, counsellors, who we would recommend to people to go and chat with if we felt that was going to be helpful. But these are really sort of pointers and, one of a better phrase, tips to parents to sort of think about when they're considering separating, divorcing, going through it, so before, during, and then after. The communication, the arrangements, think about, as I said, a parenting plan, and make sure that you're showing that united front. Make sure that decisions that you make, particularly around discipline, make sure the children know that the boundaries, know that yes, you might have different parenting styles, but that the children don't feel confused in that. They will be going between homes, no doubt, to see parents, and that needs, if possible, to be as smooth as possible. So try to let go of those negative emotions about one another. It's really hard, as I've said, for children to hear very negative or detrimental comments about the people they love most in the world, which is often their parents. And try to see if you can take a step back sometimes when you feel those emotions running high, and if the children are with you or you're in front of the other parent, maybe on a pickup, that you try and hold back on showing those raw emotions that you think what it might be through the child's eyes and what they're seeing, and try and deal with things in a very pragmatic way, a very adult way, because children will need you to be supporting them. Because if it's tough for you, it is absolutely extremely difficult for children and young people. So I hope that's sort of given you a little sort of pointers, just some little things to think about regarding children and young people, teenagers going through a divorce or a separation or family separation. And if you do have any particular questions, don't hesitate to email me or give us a ring, and by all means do arrange an appointment to come and see me, whether it's as a mediator or as a family solicitor. Thank you.